Good morning. It is Wednesday, September 11th, and I'm here with Martin Brush to share with you our quick take, rapid reaction to the US presidential debate last night, the first debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Indeed, the first time the two of them have ever actually met. Martin.
Yeah, Tina, I think I watched it as well. What are your key takeaways from the debate?
Well, after the June debate between President Biden and Donald Trump, I think expectations or fears have been very high of another kind of dramatic game changer. And somewhat mercifully, I think for us, this debate between Harris and Trump was much less of a game changer, but it was still pretty consequential. I think that Harris had initially a fairly slow start, somewhat halting in the earliest stages. Trump was more in command, talking about inflation, blaming the Biden administration and the economy. That's the issue where American voters give him the most credit. But after that, Harris really found her stride talking about abortion rights, and then she went on during the remainder, this was a 90-minute debate, to really hammer home her points. And I think she quite successfully got under Donald Trump's skin quite a bit. She needled him about his crowd sizes, something that we know that he's very sensitive to, and really had him on the back foot.
I certainly felt the same in terms of her ability to get under Trump's skin. It was quite obvious at points. But what do you think the market reaction is going to be, and what do you think polling and early predictions are showing?
Well, of course, the debate was in U.S. time. New York markets were closed, but we can track Poly market and predict it, and we can see the reaction elsewhere. Bitcoin wasn't very happy with Trump's performance, and I consider that to be a Trump proxy. Poly market pretty rapidly shifted over in favor of a Harris victory, and Poly market has been all over the place. As you know, I really hate giving too much credence to the prediction markets because what they tell us is what market participants think and not what American voters think. But in as much as that tells us something about perception and positioning, it does look like prediction markets believed that the night went to Harris. And in terms of the quick instant polls that we've seen, it also looks like Harris has been widely considered to have won. It'll take a couple of days, though, for us to see, proper polling data post-election. And of course, Harris had much more to prove than Trump on this election. She was less of a known quantity. So what I will be looking for is what independents and undecideds made of that. But I have seen some early data that suggests that her favorability ratings have gone up by several points.
That's good. Thank you for that. I was also interested on what do you think the key foreign policy takeaways were from the debate?
Well, there was,
Because
go ahead.
sorry, I think that there are in Europe people are most concerned about who sits in the White House, almost to a point where it's not really been this consequential for the last 50 or so years.
Well, we can certainly see that from our client conversations, that there is really no kind of partisan divide when it comes to European business. They would like to see a pro-NATO, pro-US security president in the White House, and as far as they can tell, that is going to be Harris. And Trump didn't do much to reverse that perception. He was asked directly by the journalist moderating the debate, uh, does he want to see a Ukraine victory? And he refused to answer that. He talked a lot about his relationship with President Putin and also with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. but did not come out in support of Ukraine and was defensive about his pressure on NATO member states to give more and to do more. These are Trump talking points that we know quite well. There was a bit of discussion, though, on China. What did you make of that?
I thought that Harris landed a couple of really quite good points, but overall, I don't think I really understood anything new from the debate. And certainly, the commentary I've read this morning already indicates that other people had a similar takeaway. I think that the most interesting thing is going to be in the run-up and whether there is an escalation in claims of I'm going to do a better job with China. It's an issue for both of them. But I think
Well,
that China's really watching this.
China is watching it, and this debate was targeted to American voters, but will be being parsed and deconstructed in Beijing and in Israel and Moscow and elsewhere, as heads of state also try to make sense of what might lie ahead. And we've got to remember that even though a trade war would be very bad for the global economy and higher tariffs, inflationary, and everything else. The US public, to the tune of about 80%, is in favor of being tough on China. And so we should expect to see more China bashing in the 55 days ahead. It is simply a position for which there isn't a lot of downside for the candidates heading into an election. And that makes it different from Russia and Ukraine, Russia being much less consequential for the US economy.
Yeah, I think probably just the last thing I'd like to really ask you about is really we've chatted about this in other venues with clients, but what are the things that you're really watching that will change the election calculus? So is there something that one single thing, or are there many different things we should all be alive to in the last 55 days?
Well, the potential for what used to be called an October surprise is always significant. And I keep thinking about how at this stage in 2016, when it was Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton was 4 points ahead in the polls. And as we headed into election day, some of the leading pollsters had put a Clinton victory at something like 90% probability, which of course market participants took to mean a certainty. So when Trump ended up winning, he lost the popular vote, but won the electoral college, which is really what matters. It was a big shock for markets, despite the fact that arguably Trump was a candidate they would be happier to see in the White House. So Harris needs to be 6 to 7 points ahead in the national polls to overcome the built-in structural advantage that the Republican Party has in the Electoral College. Right now, the national polls suggest she's between 2 and 4 points, slightly outside of the margin of error. But she'll need to keep that momentum up. And then, as is, I think, quite well known by now, those 6 to 7 battleground states, we're talking about 30 to 40,000 votes that will decide the outcome. And so when tonight Trump raised a rumor that Haitian migrants were kidnapping people's pets and eating them, this is the kind of thing which is, very surprising, not very presidential, but can actually impact public opinion, spreading rumors and misinformation, appealing to people's deepest fears. And so, in addition to big macro wildcards, I think these kinds of thought viruses, as you could call them, may also influence the outcome. And, another development that happened in the minutes after the debate was the endorsement from Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is somebody who, generates revenues along the size of a small nation state. She's mainly popular with young voters and mainly popular with women, which aren't necessarily constituencies that the Harris-Walz campaign needs help with. But she is a powerful influencer, and posting a photo of herself with her cat signed Love Childless Cat Lady, it is also something that's going to add to the way this campaign plays out. So 55 days. We've got a vice presidential debate on October 1st between JD Vance and Tim Walz, which will also make for, I think, quite entertaining viewing, if not as influential, and the potential for disruption, wildcards, intervention. We know that Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and other actors want to influence the outcome because that's just how high the stakes are in this election. But we will keep monitoring and sharing our views on this. And we look forward to getting everybody's questions.
Thank you, Tina. And
Thank you.
thanks for staying up.
Yes. Fun times.
Thank you. Bye bye.